Good morning. I'm ready to go into Genesis 41. It's early. And God has allowed me to wake up again. And I count it, I don't take it lightly. And I'm getting ready to go into Genesis 41. It's early and it's cool and I'm getting ready to, I wish y'all could see the stuff that I have. Maybe I should take y'all for a walk this morning. Let me just kind of show you because it's easy to sit here. And I like to keep it real. Why am I up so early? So take this thing down. And let's just walk around. This is what my day that I'm gonna consist with. This is, y'all know what this is? I went to the store yesterday and this is what potty soil. I went to the store yesterday and I told this guy, this young man from one of the, hold on, I'm trying to hold this camera and then hold this garden utensil. Let me show y'all what I did yesterday. I'm trying to hold this camera. All right, yesterday, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm one of them people that I'm willing to learn. My thing coming down. Hold on, I need my hair. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna put y'all on the, I'm gonna let y'all see what I see right here. Right here. Uh-oh, I lost y'all for a minute. I'm not sure what's going on. But okay, I'm still here. I was losing my signal, I guess. This thing was falling off my hair. But I want to show y'all what I learned. I'm picking it back up. I am not doing good this morning. I always saying it's trying to reconnect. Hair falling down. But anyway, this is what I was doing yesterday. I have no idea what I'm getting ready to learn about chopping. Let me go another way because this is not cool. I'm learning how to, let me show y'all my porch. Hey, May Brock. I just love my porch with my camera thing on there. Anyway, I'm going to work in my yard this morning, but I want to get the word before I get to go outside and learn some more about God while I chop. Look at my little flowers. Y'all see my flower? Can y'all see them? I'm going to plant these. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn a little. The connection to the internet is saying, Brenda, you doing too much. Okay, I stay within my field. I may have to cut all that out. It's probably all over the place. All right, I'm getting ready to go into, y'all see this thing I got on? This vest. I used to be able to close that thing up. I got to get it together. Here's a size 14. I ain't no 14 no more. But anyway, we're going to get it together and we're going to keep it real. And that's what makes life interesting is when you tell the truth. Child, y'all, hold on a second. I got to do something about this thing because I know it's going to flop off my head. Trying to keep this. I hate to waste people's time. Anybody interested in this? Hey, Bridget! And the Mary Brock? May Brock. Bridget, girl, you got to help me. Well, no, you're doing a good job. Bridget is my niece. She lost a lot of weight and she looks totally different. I share it with my friends all the time. But the food that she eats, Bridget helped me, because the things that you got to give up to look like you, I got to get together. All right, people, let's get in the Word of God. All right. Dress, I don't like nothing showing. All right. You know, you come outside, you see, okay, I put this dress on so I can work out in my yard. But anyway, let's get in Genesis chapter 41. And I hope I keep a great connection. Maybe I need to come up some, I don't know. But Genesis chapter 41, it's getting ready to tell us a little bit more about Joseph. And the last time we see Joseph, Joseph is in prison. Let's talk a little bit about him. He was sold by his brothers to a group of Egyptians or merchants on their way to Egypt, and they stole people. Well, Joseph said, "You stole me." That's why I said it. Joseph said, "I was stolen from my homeland." In other words, they paid a price for me, but it was a steal. Because there's nowhere in the world am I worth 20 pieces of nothing. And they talking about 20 pieces of money. And that was just crazy to Joseph, but it happened. And it's not like but it happened, but it did happen, but it's hurtful. But at the same time, he got to Egypt in a matter of days. And as I stated yesterday, when God told the children of Israel to go home, and he was letting them get back from Egypt to get back to where Joseph started out and was stolen, it took them 40 years. And in 40 years, Joseph had become the highest ranking person in the land, as we will find out today, beside the king. He stolen at 17, worked in one of the prestigious houses of a leader in Egypt. Wife lied on him. He was put in prison. He became even while he was in the Potiphar's house, he was grooming. God was grooming him. And sometimes when we're going through things, we don't call it God because we can't understand why we're going through these unnecessary challenges. But when we look at the picture of God, that's why it's so good to get the Word, because when we see with God how he works, how he operates, then we get in situations, we ought to know where we are with God. We're playing chess, and you ought to know your position in God based on what God did in other people's lives, especially Genesis, the book of Genesis. Then you'll be able to see how God works in your life based on what he did for other people, because he said, "I change not. I'm the same God." So if you're going through some challenges unnecessarily, knowing that you've done the right thing, just know that God is grooming you to be able to expand himself through you. Now, whether it be as great as being under the king, I don't know. But I do know that it's in an area, in a crevice, it's in a place where God said, "I want to take myself through you and allow me to show you how to be a benefit to a lot of people." And that's what God is all about. If it's about reaching people, then it's about God's business. So, Genesis 41, Joseph is in prison. And I think I was saying that the 40 years that disobedience caused some of the people that Joseph had affected in life. Now, Joseph was brought into Egypt in a matter of days. How many days? I don't know. It might have been 40 days. It could have been 11 days. It could have been a few days. But it wasn't 40 years. And so him being 17, and we're going to meet Joseph at being at age 30. And he's standing in front of the king. And that's where we're going today. That lets me know that it didn't take him long because God was with him and he was following instructions. And when we follow instructions, we get God's plan done expeditiously, quickly. So he was in prison in chapter 40, and he told two guys who had been summoned to go to jail, and Joseph happened to be the one in charge there, as he was the one in charge in Potiphar's house. Everywhere he went, you couldn't help but want that leadership quality. And even though he was thrown into prison, God still said, you still, because I'm with you, you're going to be on the top. And he was able to instruct these two guys who had a dream, and he told them exactly. He listened to their dream, and he said, this is it, meaning that I'm getting ready to tell you what this means. And he told the dream, and it was 3 days that both guys who had dreams, everything that Joseph spoke into their lives came to pass. These are the things that we have. And what have I learned from this as I go into chapter 41? Chapter 40, go back and read it, and the details will support what I'm saying. What I've learned about God is God tells the truth. He does not leave out components feeling that, okay, I got to say it differently. He says the same thing, and that's his design for anybody that he's going to be with. If you deviate from the word of God and you add and you say, well, you start feeling the people, and then you start saying, I don't want to say that because I don't want to offend, then God is not with you. You're wasting your time. You got to say it exactly the way God communicates. And as we see in chapter 41, you're going to hear a discussion. And the only way that the discussion will bring about results, it has to have the vein of truth. If you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor, well, let's say you broke out with something and you don't know why you broke out with that thing. And then you go to the doctor, but you don't, then the doctor started asking you, who was your last sexual partner? You start leaving out information, then you're not gonna be diagnosed right. Whenever you are going to, if you're seeking the truth, you got to be open and honest, and you got to tell exactly what happened, so that when he diagnoses you, if he's a good doctor, that he's not giving you something that will further harm you. So if you slept with somebody and you don't want to admit it, then stay away from the doctor, because he can't help you. And that's how God is. If I can't help you, the only way I can, you got to tell it like it is. You got to tell the truth so I can show you what not to do the next time. Anyway, I use that example because a lot of stuff has happened, and some things just keep us saying, I don't really want to tell it like that. Brenda, how much you weigh? I want to tell you I want to tell you how much I want to weigh. Okay, then I can't help you. Anyway, so we really don't tell the truth when it's something about us that makes us feel bad. And that's when we start lying. But if it's God is going to be in you, you just know that he'll be with you as long as it's in the line of the truth. Genesis chapter 41. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years. So Joseph, 2 full years, the last thing that he told the butler. And yesterday I said the butler was the one that was baking the cakes and stuff. That was just a mistake. I went back over and listened to what I said. And sometimes I'll say things that I have to fix it the next day, but it was a mistake. It was not a lie. It was just a mistake. Okay, he had told the butler, he said, remember me when you go into your... He told like that guy hanging on the cross, Jesus, remember me when you get to your kingdom. And Jesus said, today you're going to be with me in paradise. Jesus said, I ain't going to forget you. I'm taking you with me. So Joseph had asked his butler, said, remember me when you get back into your position, when the king hire you. Notice he didn't say that to the baker, because the baker was not going to have a memory that could be recalled, because they hung him at a party. You say, well, Brenda, cover and get to chapter 41. Okay. But a party was going on, and the king invited all of the servants back, and these two guys that were in prison with Joseph those 3 days, they were sent back, and the king threw a party, and he invited all his servants, not his friends, not his kinfolk, his servants, unless they were two of the same, friend and servant, kinfolk and servant. But anyway, he invited them, the servants, and the two guys that were in jail were invited as well. One of them was serving the king, and the other one was being hanged. And you say, what kind of party was that? Was that you really hang somebody? The kind of party God gonna have at the end of the day. Some people decide, I don't want to be with you. He said, okay, then you will be over there, and it will not be a party. And everybody else, let's eat. That means we'll finally see God's ultimate plan for man, and that's to dwell with him forever. And there will still be a burning. I mean, we don't have to go to the burning, but if you don't line up with the word, then so anyway, we'll get to that part when we get there. It's not a shame to say you either live right and do people right, and God maximizes himself through you, and you'll be at the part of life with him forever. If not, you're going to be in a place where you don't want to be. And we need to stop softening that thing up. That thing real. You can't do people wrong. You can't build a house and collect money and don't people right. You're going to hell. You got to do your job. I ain't talking about going to hell, because I'm talking about hell is not made for man. Obedience is made for man. But if you refuse to take heed to the word of God and you don't need God, then God said you can't be with me, and that's your choice. So that's a part of telling the truth. I can't deny that, because if I'm not going to tell the truth, then God is not with me. I'm lying. But anyway, this guy lost his head. That's all I'm saying. All right, chapter 41. And they were still at the party. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years. What happened? That Pharaoh dreamed. Now, again, Joseph told that guy to remember me, and he didn't. But 2 whole years went by. And behold, this is the dream. The king said he was standing by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored cows or kine and fat flesh. And they fed in the middle, some good old beef-looking juicy cows. And behold, 7 other kinds came up after them. So he said, I had a dream. The first was a big, fat, juicy steak eating oxtail looking juicy. Put them on a grill, cows. And then he said, I had another dream. And he said, also in this dream, and behold, 7 other kinds of other cows came up after them, after the river, out of the river. So he was standing at the river, and out of the river came up, out of the river now. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored cows and fat. And they fed in a meadow. He saw this coming up out of a river. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river. That's an unusual place for a cow to come out of. Sick-looking cows. Skinny. Anemic-looking cows. And stood by the other cows up on the brink of the river. So the fat cows and the skinny cows were both present, both having coming up out of the water, the river. And the sick-looking cows favored lean-fleshed cows. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed cows did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat cows. So that woke that king up. Pharaoh got up. Because he said, how in the world is it that the big old fat cows were eaten by them little bitty puny looking cows? That'll wake anybody up out of a dream. I know it would me. And he slept and dreamed the second time. That man said, I got to go back to sleep. I don't know what that was. He fell back down, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. In other words, some healthy looking wheat. And it said corn, but I heard a guy say that was, okay, we'll call it corn as the word, but he was explaining that it was wheat. And sometimes the ears of wheat is called corn, but let's stay with what I understand. And he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. So that was good. And behold, 7 thin ears and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. So he was awakened the second time. First time, cows coming out of the river, fat. And then some skinny cows came up and ate up the fat cows. The king woke up. Then he laid back down trying to figure that out. He fell, dreamt, just kind of went back to sleep again. And then he dreamt another dream, and it was about some grain. And the good grain, standing there looking all nice and thick, came about a week, and then the weak grain came and then devoured it up. And he got up again. It scared that man. And then he realized it was a dream. And then what happened? And it came to pass in the morning when he got up, that his spirit was troubled because he's in leadership. And he said, what is that? And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream. He said it exactly the way he had it. But he just called for the wrong people. He called for the magic people, the people that have been taking money from folks. Come and let me read your, let me read you. Let me tell you what's going to happen. If you pull down 7 bananas and you eat and you pull down 7 peanuts, and that's the foolishness of life. He called them folk in to give him some advice about his dream, or give him the interpretation of. The magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. All the people that supposedly be the psychiatrists and the people that had gone and got a degree. He called them too. And Pharaoh sat there and told them his dream. But there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Now that'll let you know right there. You call the wrong people. The Lord is not with people just because they say I got certain powers. You got to know who to call upon when you need an answer. Then, you know that guy that was in jail? He said, I know somebody who could interpret your dreams. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my fault this day. I told that guy, he asked me good to remind you about him. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants. He said, you remember when you were mad at your servants and put me in prison and the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker? You remember the baker that you chopped his head off? You hung him? And we dreamed a dream in one night. I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man. He was young. A Hebrew servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dream. We told that guy our dream, and he told us the truth. And each man, according to his dream, he did interpret. Everything that he said came to pass, just like our dream. In other words, I might have made a mistake and said that wrong. Whatever they told Joseph, he told them the truth about what's going to happen to them. And it came to pass as he interpreted to us, so it was. It was exactly the way he said. Me, I got my job back, restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. That guy told us exactly what was going to happen. And I am so sorry I didn't remember to tell you about that boy. Oh my God, 2 years gone by. God was in that. Even though Joseph wanted to get out, I know I don't like some of the times I have to wait to see the result of what I was promised. God didn't really promise Joseph anything. He was just using him. But Joseph trusts God. He trusts God enough to say, this ain't gonna make me, I don't care what I'm going through. I don't know why God doing this, but I'm gonna hang in there. And God used that. I don't know God's timing, but I do know I can trust. And it came to pass, he interpreted to us, so it was. Me, he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called for Joseph. He said, go get that boy. And they brought him hastily in a hurry. When that king spoke, them folk got to work. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he didn't just come popping up before that man. Joseph was in the prison. They didn't have the luxury of taking a bath like that. What that verse said. And they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself. Joseph know how to go before the king. And he shaved himself and changed his clothes and came in unto Pharaoh. And he shaved himself. They gave him a chance to get ready. And he changed his garment, his clothes. And he came in before the Pharaoh. If you're going to go before people that's got power, you got to go look at these. You got to look good and smell good. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of you that you can understand a dream to interpret it. You see how the truth is being told? The thread of the truth. In other words, the king didn't, he left his emotions out. He came in and he said, I heard this about you, and that you are able to interpret dreams. That's all he said. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it's not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. He said, I'm going to give you something to settle you. I already know whatever you tell me, God going to bring peace to whatever it is that you need. That's what God does. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, he said, let me tell you what I dreamed. In my dream, behold, I stood up on the bank of the river. Is that the truth? Yep, because we already saw that in the dream before he told Joseph about this dream. And behold, there came out the river 7 kinds, 7 cows, fat, shed, and well favored, and they fed in a meadow. Now God can use this man, because he said, what's your dream? He started telling him exactly what he dreamed. And he didn't summarize it, he didn't shorten it. He said, this is what I dreamed. I need peace about this thing. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean flesh, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. He said, the thing bothered me so. He said, I never seen anything like that in Egypt. And the lean and the ill-favored cows, and the lean and the ill-favored cows did eat up the first 7 fat cows. So the sick-looking cows ate up to the healthy-looking cows. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as the beginning. So I got up, I stood up out of my bed. Them skinny cows ate up them fat cows, and they were still skinny. He said, that bothered me. And I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. So I saw, I'm just telling you the dream. And behold, 7 ears withered thin and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. So the sick-looking grain saw the fat-looking grain, and it sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it unto me. So the king is just repeating everything. And that's what you have to do. You get the word of God and you repeat it just like he said. That's how you know God is going to give you a solution of peace. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. So now he's telling him, God has showed Pharaoh what is about to be done. What he is about to do. What God said, I'm letting you know this because I'm about to do this. The 7 good cows are 7 years. Joseph said, let me interpret for you. 7 good cows, 7 years. The 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is 1. So you had 2 dreams, but they're equivalent to 1 action from God, and God is speaking. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kinds that came up after them are 7 years. Look at this word 7. 7 good cows eaten up by the 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is 1. And the 7 thin and ill-favored cows that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. In other words, you're going to have 7 years of everything doing well. And as soon as that 7 years up, you're going to have 7 years of things that's going to make you forget how good it was. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do is show unto Pharaoh, behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt. And the famine shall consume the land. So, in other words, you're going to have a lot of good times, and then the bad times going to make you forget how good it was. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following. In other words, all that good stuff that you had, it's going to be so opposite until you won't even remember. For it shall be very grievous. In other words, it's going to be so bad until you're going to recognize it. And therefore the dream was doubted unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established. And for that the dream was doubled. I'm sorry, I said doubted. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. And I heard somebody say that, like, if you go to court, you got two people that can testify about the same thing. That thing is going to definitely come to pass. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise. Get somebody that, Pharaoh, get you somebody that can handle it, because this is going to happen. He needs to be discreet. In other words, he's carefully monitoring things around him, and wise. He needs to know what he's doing. And set him over the land of Egypt. This is Joseph telling, not only am I going to tell you the dream and its interpretation, I'm going to tell you the interpretation of the dream and tell you how you got to fix it. He said, now do this. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7th plenteous year. So he's giving him, this is how you got to operate this thing. He said, let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7th plenteous year. I need to look that up. Let him take up part of the land, so you got to have something to eat then, but save the 5th part, save that part, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come. In other words, don't eat everything that year. Set aside part of the 5th part of it. In other words, we always talk about the 10th part, and the 10th is smaller. In other words, the 10th part, 10 pennies. Oh, how can I say that? I know how to say it. I know what I'm talking about, but you need more than 10%. The 5th part of it. And he says, save that part, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the city. In other words, don't eat everything. Put some money in the bank. Don't spend all your money, because you don't need it. Kind of like what we're going through with what's going on now. If the government gave us $1,200, it'd be wise to set aside some of that money for what we don't know. That's what's being said. And that food shall be for store to the land against 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. In other words, save enough food, store it up. Don't spend all your money. Put enough in the bank, because you're going to be hitting some hard times. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of all his servants. Pharaoh didn't just hear it. He saw it. He listening, but he could see what Joseph was saying. He said, I like that. It was good to my eyes. I heard what you said, but I can see it, and I'm a king, and I don't want it. I get it. And Pharaoh said unto his servant, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? Can we find anybody can do this in Egypt? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed you all this, there is none so discreet and wise as you are. Pharaoh said to Joseph, you the one. I'm thinking, but immediately God has said, but God is doing all that. God is moving. Good morning. God is moving one person in position. It's God that's directing the mind of the king. That's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, stop talking about the president, these folk in leadership. Because God's hand is about whatever is going on, whether it's in your favor, whether it's not in your favor. God uses people, and let him finish the work. Maybe we don't have a king like him, but that man's still in charge. Let God let God make the move. Because this man not doing that. God did it. He said, then Pharaoh told him, he said, look, you do it, Joseph. I don't know nobody else like you. You shall be over my house. Look at Joseph. As soon as he got to Egypt, he was over Potiphar's house. Then they put him in prison. He was over the prison house. Now he's under the king. The king said, you shall be over my house. And according to your word, shall all people be ruled. You're going to be in charge. Only in the throne will it be, only me in the throne will I be greater than you. In other words, let me give you your position. You're not going to take my place, but your word going to be as if I spoke it. You won't be over me. Get that clear. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. Look at Egypt. You're going to be over all of this. This is a prisoner. This is young man. Well, this is God's plan. And Pharaoh took off his ring. So I'm going to give you something so everybody will understand that I gave this to you from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand and arrayed him in vesture of fine linen. Joseph thought he was looking good. That man said, put this man on some fine linen and put a gold chain about his neck. Fix him up. I want him looking good. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. In other words, you're going to ride behind me. And they cried before him, bow your knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. This is God. And this is not so much, it is Joseph, but it's the Lord with Joseph. God said, I'm trying to get into earth. And Pharaoh called Joseph named Zephaniah Paneah. Changed his name. And he gave him to wife Asenath. Asenath, or whatever, you can't spell it. The daughter of Potiphar's priest of On. And Joseph went out all over the land of Egypt. Joseph said, I'm going to walk around and I'm going to manage this whole. He didn't just sit around. Somebody tell me what's going on. And Joseph went all over Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Look at all that time. Went by 17, and now he's 30. How many years was that? 13 years. 13 years have gone by that boy's life. Somebody check my math. I think it's 13. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. Joseph's just not a lazy man. If you're going to be a leader, you can't be lazy. And know that God is not with a lazy person. And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. 7 years went by, just like Joseph said, the earth had plenty. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea. It was so much that it looked like it was going to go to waste. Joseph said, no, it's not going to go to waste. Very much until he left numbering. He stopped numbering. He said, I ain't going to count it because it's too much. Well, it was without number. He said that we got so much until, don't count all that. Just do what I said do. And unto Joseph were born two sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God, said he, had made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. You see, I'm going to name my children after something that will make sense to me. Boy, my firstborn, I forgot everything he took me through. And the name of the second, the Ephraim. But God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. The same place where I was, he just made things good. Better. I mean, it's so good until Joseph said, I don't even know how to put it in words. But he made it, gave me fruits in the place where I was afflicted. And the 7 years of plenteous that was in the land of Egypt were ended. So now they see the end of what Joseph said, 7 years. If God said it's going to happen December the 23rd, that's when it's going to happen. And the 7 years of dearth began to come. That means the hard times. According as Joseph had said. And the bad times was in all lands. But in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, everybody was just everybody didn't know how they were going to make ends meet. The people cried to Pharaoh, but Joseph had already prepared for bread. And Pharaoh said unto the Egyptians, go tell Joseph what he said. Whatever he say unto you, do. What did Mary say? Whatever Jesus said unto you, do that. Look at God. I got two witnesses that this thing shall come to pass. Pharaoh told Joseph, whatever he tell you to do, do it. Well, Pharaoh told the people, whatever Joseph tell you to do, do it. And they cried to him. And he told them, said, listen to Joseph. And whatever he say, do it. And the famine was all over the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. He sold it to them and sold unto the Egyptians. And the famine waxed sore in the land. It was very great of Egypt. And all the countries came to Egypt, to Joseph, to buy corn, because the famine was so great, so sore in all the lands. Ladies and gentlemen, I just read 57 verses. I'm not going to cut the word because then it won't sound like God. Every word of that story was supposed to be read. And I'm getting ready to go because I know what's going to happen, I believe, in the next chapter. I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all get that word and read it. Talk to y'all later. Bye. Have a good day. Love you.